From Portland, Oregon. Thank you. Meanwhile, speaking of Portland, our viewers are no doubt familiar with Andy Ngo. That is the independent journalist who has 1.7 million followers on X, violently ambushed back in 2019 at a rally in Portland, Oregon, which came at the hands, as he says, of Antifa. The injuries he suffered were so severe, he was diagnosed with a brain hemorrhage.
The images you're now seeing on your screen were snapped while he was in the emergency room following the attack, a stark and harrowing reminder of the violence that he suffered at the hands of some folks who appeared to be on the radical left on that day in Portland 6 years ago. But he's been undaunted in his crusade to expose Antifa, went on to author the book Unmasked: Inside Antifa's Radical Plan to Destroy Democracy.
It is our pleasure to welcome back in Andy Ngo to National Report, the senior editor at the Post Millennial and the publisher of No Comment on Substack. Andy, good to see you. Regarding Antifa, your extensive reporting on this organization just days ago, marking the first time in U.S. history that Antifa members have been federally charged with terrorism crimes. This is new from the Trump administration. And you see some of these mugshots here that you put up. This stemming from the coordinated ambush shooting attack on the 4th of July at an ICE detention center in Alvarado, Texas, that left a police officer wounded. But again, back to the screen here, headshots of 17 individuals who have either been indicted or have been alleged to be part of the plot to carry out the shooting. And apparently the home where the group met up prior to the attack served as a transgender compound. Can you elaborate on this and share some of the facts that as you know them?
Yeah, so Antifa violence in the U.S. is nothing new. It's been going on at the level we've seen now for about a decade. But what is new is the federal government treating them as domestic terrorists. And I'm very glad to see that what started off originally as an announcement on Truth Social has turned into executive orders and now action at the DOJ. So 2 so far have been indicted from this alleged North Texas Antifa cell. And if you read the criminal complaints that have come out, you'll see that they were extremely coordinated. They had aliases in their signal chats, auto-delete messages on. I had seen this before through other cases in the past where individuals who engage in domestic terrorism were not charged with terrorism at the federal level. The trans compound that you talked about, that was reporting that came out actually in the Washington Post. Several of the suspects who were arrested were tied to this apartment building where transgender militants were living together in Dallas. And the alleged members of the cell had met up here at that building before going to Alvarado's ICE facility and allegedly shooting it up.
Wow. And that's just one example of violence linked to members who are apparently part of an Antifa group. I wanted to pivot and talk to you about the No Kings protests that we saw this past weekend. Now, I'm not saying that everyone who showed up by any means is a member of Antifa. I think just physically looking at some of these individuals, it's not the type that you would see late at night who attend, in some cases, violent protests outside of ICE facilities where Antifa members would be known to gather. But there was one individual that at least caught our attention here, and it's this woman. Identified as Lucy Martinez, who we're told is a Chicago area elementary school teacher, and you see here clearly mocking the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Can you talk to us about what this video evokes for yourself, but then also some takeaways from who might have attended these No Kings protests?
So ahead of the No Kings protests, Antifa collectives online had urged for their comrades and militants to form a so-called anti-fascist black bloc contingent and to come and embed in this demonstration to build networks, to build connections, and to mainstream their message. And even though Antifa didn't riot at any of the No Kings protests across the U.S.
Andy, I've got to pause you there. I do apologize. We've been monitoring the vice president in Israel. Andy, I've got to thank you now. Thank you so much for coming on the broadcast here.
We had been speaking with Andy Ngo before we went to the VP's press conference, and we're happy to welcome him back. Andy, if you just wanted to pick up where you left off there, again, what this image evokes for yourself and what maybe you're learning from these protests.
So just before the No Kings protests, Antifa groups online had called for their militants to mobilize, to network and to mainstream their messaging at these liberal protests. And even though Antifa didn't riot over the weekend, what we did see is that they were not forced out when they showed up in the black bloc with masks and waving the Antifa flag. They were embraced by liberals, and their message was embraced. You can see that people who even allegedly work as teachers, who are middle class, who look like decent people, are embracing this message of a assassination culture.
Yeah, it just is sad to see someone's teacher out there in that type of fashion and format celebrating murder, quite frankly. Andy, take us back to, or rather, I'll take you back to Portland for a moment. This recent ruling that we've been highlighting earlier in the broadcast in favor of the Trump administration, this one in an appellate court, greenlighting the deployment of National Guard troops in Portland, where there has been so much chaos and lawlessness. I think you know it better than we do here. The appeals court ruling that it paused the lower court's order, essentially. It barred the deployment. Now the Trump administration is able to send in the troops to keep them there. But you've got the mayor of Portland, you've got the state leaders as well, the governor pushing back against this ruling, claiming they're not done legally. They're going to try to push these troops back out of this area. What they're doing, though, is protecting these federal buildings, these federal agents. Talk to us about this tug of war between state and local leaders in Portland, Oregon, and the administration.
So in Portland, the Democrats there are motivated by ideology. It's not about public safety, anything else. It's just about ideology. They don't care how much public resources are wasted to fight this battle that's been drawn out when, in fact, they could cooperate with the federal government. Now, they've been doing a big red herring propaganda campaign where they will show up in the middle of the day and do selfie videos and say, look, it's completely peaceful. The point is not that 24/7 at every inch of the city that there's violence. Nobody has claimed that. What is being claimed and what is true is that since June, in regular intervals, there's been violence outside this ICE facility that's taken significant federal resources, wasted federal resources to protect. So what can happen is federal troops can protect it.
All right. Thank you very much, Andy Ngo. Appreciate it. The Vice President now taking questions.